email. However, on the invitation that I sent, if you scroll down to the bottom, I have the links there as well. I also want to just, remind you, and I see most, everyone's already doing this. I would love to see your faces and hear you and all that, but we find that the presentations run a little smoother with less technical problems when you mute your microphone and turn off the camera. So I appreciate all of that. So, the slides aren't changing. 1 second. So sorry. There we go. So just a little bit of my background. I am a certified canine conditioning and fitness coach with Do More With Your Dog, as well as an AKC Fit Dog instructor for their level 1. It's a fairly new program for AKC, and that's the only level that they have right now. And both of these programs, I will be incorporating a lot of their information and skills in my different canine conditioning sessions. And then I'll just modify things that don't fall into the guidelines of Leader Dog and for our future Leader Dog puppies. So just to kind of keep that in mind. So I wanted to start, last time we jumped right into the exercises and the skills, and today I want to give just a little background here and make sure as we move forward we do things that are age appropriate and things like that. So that's what we will be discussing. And as far as the benefits, there are many more than what I have listed here. And you'll notice it includes even more than just being fit. The physical fitness and conditioning helps to build and maintain muscle mass, improve a pup's body awareness, limb awareness, rear end awareness. You will hear that a lot in many of our different skills, how dogs don't really know that they have rear ends and they just sort of follow along with their front end. So we're helping them develop those skills. It also, helps with balance, and it provides a mental workout, especially now with the cold weather coming along, COVID maybe restricting us as well. Our pups will, maybe getting bored. I know mine. For those who don't know, I do have a future Leader Dog of my own now. He's 9 months old, and yes, he gets bored. And mental work really helps with that. Plus, it just encourages them to be independent thinkers. We all know physical fitness, is very important for us, but it is very important for them as well. It improves their health, can increase their lifespan, and maybe even, limit veterinary visits as they get older. It also helps to reduce the risk of injury, joint problems, and arthritis. But like I have on this list, some things that I think are really important as well is that building of a bond between you and your pup, building trust. All of those things can come from learning new skills in general, but certainly from the ones we're going to talk about. Exercise benefits a dog at every stage of its life. Puppies will improve coordination, confidence, mental focus, and our adult dogs, our senior dogs, they will be working on also improving their strength and their balance. The things we have to keep in mind, though, as puppy raisers is the age of the puppy. For any exercise we do, we're going to consider that. We have to use caution with the type of exercise, the duration of the exercise, the number of repetitions we ask a pup to do, and the frequency of that exercise. The age of the puppy should always be taken into consideration first, and that even if you have pet dogs, the age of a dog. So if you have a senior dog, you might have to modify and adjust. So the number of repetitions, when we talk about that, I'm talking about how many times you ask the pup to do something. So in this case, in this picture, and by the way, that's Kara Sundance, in this picture, she wouldn't ask him to go up and down this mountain of fit bones 10 times. That's much too much. The other key thing to look at in the picture, he's not being forced in any way. He could quit, he could stop. We will talk more about that later. But if we were doing, let's say, you know, when we talk about puppy push-ups, where they go from a sit to a stand, that could be very exhausting physically. We wouldn't ask a little puppy to do that 10 times in a row. We probably wouldn't ask them to do it 5 times. We're going to adjust the repetitions based on the dog's age and ability. And there's not a specific number. I'm going to give you some cues to look for to determine what your puppy's number is. But it's just something very important I want you to keep in mind, always in the back of your mind, about going easy on our pups. They are, you know, young, they're developing, and so on. When I talk about duration, that's the length of time your session is going to be. For me, I keep my sessions, let's say for a 2 to 6 month old, I'm going to keep my sessions maybe at 2 to 3 minutes, and I might do it 2 or 3 times in a day. But they're going to be very short. They're going to be fun. They're going to be focused, and we're going to leave on a good note. So duration is the length of time you're going to hold a session. A puppy, even up to a year, is not going to enjoy or get much out of an hour-long session. Even when you go to a training class, if you kind of take a look at how long your pup's actually doing work, it's not for that full hour. You're getting instruction in between, but you will notice by the end of that hour, your pup is pretty tired and might even be zoning out. So those are, again, cues we will, you know, pay attention to. As my pup gets older, I might increase that to 5 or 10 minute session, you know, 3 times a day. And as far as frequency, we're talking about, well, frequency could be how many times in a day, but let's say I was doing canine conditioning with a young pup 2 or 3 times in a day, I would do it 3 times per week. If he was up to it. It's not something you start out hard and strong with. But again, we're not going to be doing any extremely strenuous exercises with our pups ever. So we have some leeway there as well. But over exercising a pup can negatively impact their, you know, development, their muscle skeletal development. And it's a particular problem for our larger breed puppies, where they're still growing well into, you know, 18 months, 24 months of age. So that's why even through this, we won't be doing any impact exercises either. So cues we need to watch for when we're exercising with our pups. Our pups are always talking to us. And it's really important that we learn how to tune in and listen to them. And much of their conversation will be through body language and behavior, right? So signs that tell us we might be asking for too much out of them might be things like licking their lips, yawning, putting their ears back, turning their head away from us. That's an avoidance type behavior, where they're just kind of saying, I've had enough. When stress is very high, they might even get what's known as whale eyes. And what that is normally you don't see the whites of the eye on a dog, but under stress you may. So these are good cues to watch for in anything you do with your pup. Any kind of training or an environment you might take your pup to. We took Swag to Bass Pro Shop last weekend, and I quickly noticed, we probably weren't even there 10 minutes, that it was just a little too much. And there weren't even many people in the store, but there's a lot of other things going on that we might think are, you know, no big deal, but was a big deal for him. He's recently out of a prison. It was a big outing. We were there maybe a total of 10 minutes, with 5 of it just hanging out on a mat, eating a Kong. And then we left on a good note. So these cues, keep them in mind for anything you do with your pup. While you're doing your canine conditioning and exercises, another really good cue is if it's something simple that you know your pup can do, you've seen him do, you've worked on it with him, and all of a sudden he gets maybe sloppy. And what I mean by that is his form isn't quite what it was. That's a very important cue, and hopefully we don't get that far. But if you do, you notice that, yeah, he's just kind of slouching a little. He's camping his feet under him more. He can't hold his sit like he was. He's tired. So he's telling you through that body language that he's tired. And when I say I hope we don't get to that point, this is where we go back to Melissa's session on journaling. Canine conditioning and fitness is a great, time to use that journal. You would log that. You would log when he started getting tired, when you started seeing the subtle signs, so that next time when you go at it, go into your session, you're not going to go that far the next time. It also will give you something to measure against to see as they're improving, as do videos. I think videos are a great thing for yourself or to share with all of us or me, whatever you would like. So the other thing is their brains get tired. This is a lot of thinking. So their brains get tired. If it's time to quit, it's time to quit. Back up to maybe something real easy and end it on a good note with a reward and move on. That is our goal, always to stop before they're fatigued, to stop while in good form, good position, end on a positive note. And, anytime we need to reduce the criteria, that's sometimes what we do. We have a goal in our head of what we want to achieve. Let's just, for example, take this picture. I want to achieve him having 4 feet on that peanut. That's not where I would start, is having him jump on that peanut. That would be having my criteria way too high. So that's something to always check ourselves, see if we're pushing too far. When we talk about form, this example of just a stand is very good. What I would like you to do is take a look at the 3 photos and maybe in the chat box, and if my fellow coordinators could give me a hand with it, but in the chat box, maybe jot down the number of the picture, either which one you're talking about, either picture 1 or picture 2, and what you see different from picture 3. Picture 3 isn't perfectly ideal, but it's very close. And I'm comparing 1 and 2 against them. And I'd like to see where you see, so just jot down, picture 1 and what you see might be the problem. And the checklist we're using is right there next to it. Top line, their head, their neck, their muzzle, that we're looking at these things. We're looking at the front feet, the elbows, stifles, the back feet. Any notes coming in there at all?
They're coming in now, Mary Lynn.
Awesome.
It says back feet tucked under, back feet, number 1 back feet, number 2 top line, back feet position, back feet under him.
Excellent. So it's easier when we're looking at it from the side in a picture, right? But we have to learn how to look at it when we're working with our dog too. All of those are fantastic. Here you go with the specifics not covered, but you hit right on those. When someone mentioned number 2, the top line. So they noticed the top line. Great observation. When you compare number 2 to number 3, look how nice and level and long it is. What it is on number 2, he's roached a little bit, and you can see it even more than that. And roach just means the back's kind of going upward. It's because of where his back feet are. His back feet are tucked under him a little too far. You could have him back up a little. You could pull him forward a little, you know, with your treat, hand target, something like that is how you would move him into position. Someone else mentioned about the picture one, the back feet weren't in line. And you might think at first glance, well, that doesn't look too bad, even though it's out of a line, you know, in the back. But follow the leg up and you'll see how it throws the hip a little bit off, which then in turn throws that spine a little bit off. So that's why form is important. You want to have that top line neutral and parallel to the ground. You want to have the head and the muzzle neutral and parallel to the ground. So in this case, this pup's head is a little tipped up. We could easily fix that by, if we were using a hand target or a different target, lowering our target. If we're using a treat or a lure, lowering that, right? So he's most likely looking up because of that. So if we lowered it, we're going to get a more neutral position with the neck, and we're going to get that muzzle parallel to the floor. So that would be something we would work on. Front feet, we want them under the shoulders when they're in the stand, paws facing forward in a neutral position. You want equal weight on both of those feet. And by having them, you know, parallel next to each other like that, you're going to have more equal weight, where in our picture one, that weight is a little tipped. Elbows, we don't want his elbows in the front to flare out at all. We want them, his leg in line with his shoulder. So follow that line right on down to, you know, follow it right down to the hock area, just right all in line. The back legs, the stifles or knee area, you're going to look for the hip above that and how it's right in line down the leg so that the weight is being transferred down that leg from the hip into the feet. The dog, you know, their hips are not rotating in any way. Back feet are under the hips or slightly behind a little bit. So you see how from the stifle, the back legs go back just a tad when they're camped under. In picture two, you get that more roached back and not a balanced weight distribution. So those are just some simple guidelines, and most, or not most, all of those can be easily changed with where our treat placement or our target is how we can move those. When you're working on these, we would like, you know, if we were working on this, doing a stand, or where you would take it from this stand, and this is what we're going to work on in the next session. We're going to go from this stand position to working on a target to do different stretches with the use of a target. And by using correct form in the stand, we will have correct form as we move forward, with no foot motion, not having our back feet too wide or narrow, and keeping them aligned, and so on. Last week, or it was a couple weeks ago, the last session, we worked on ladder work, and I wanted to talk about that a little bit. It is one of the foundation tools. This is a big coordination tool. It's a foundation tool. It can be used in so many ways and go from level 1 on up. And this is, if you didn't get a chance to be, you know, to join us in the last session, please go back and take a look at it. But it's very simple. You don't need the fancy ladder, and I go over all of that in the session, the previous session. But it's designed to increase our dog's proprioception, coordination, and focus. They have to mentally think about moving all 4 of those limbs. It's going to easily increase their rear end awareness. I would like to share a video. I had one of your fellow puppy raisers and leader dog puppy counselor, Beverly Kramer, share a video with me. And Beverly, if you are on here, if you wouldn't mind unmuting, and while I find, oh, I think I'm going to get it fairly easy. Hopefully it works. First of all, can everyone see that I just put a video up in front of the screen or no?
Not yet, Barry Lynn.
Ah, okay, so that's not going to work as easy as I hoped.
Typically have to stop sharing this and then go share your desktop.
Okay, I will do that. Beverly, are you here?
Yes, I am.
While I'm doing that, would you mind just taking a minute, because in your letter you shared why you feel rear end awareness is so important. If you could share that while I get this video going, I would love it.
Well, I was first introduced to rear end awareness with the dog, I think about 9 years ago now. And that was my first instance. The dog is now a leader dog and doing an excellent job, probably close to retirement though, unfortunately. But what had happened was at about 5 months of age, and I was working on the bridle walk with this particular lovely lab. And all of a sudden he would go up about 3 steps and slowly in the bridle walk. And then he would not move his back legs. He would stretch as far as he could and he wouldn't move those back legs. And I called Bev Blanchard and said, help, help, what do I do? He won't, he won't move. And then he became very afraid of stairs. He really started balking at stairs. So that was my introduction to rear leg awareness. And Bev Blanchard was just this tremendous, tremendous help. And so that made me aware of this whole issue. And she, along with at that time, Sam Ziegemeyer was also on board. And both of them together gave me a lot of tips on how to work with this dog. And I followed them all to the letter. And I got this dog together. We got this dog past all of those issues. In fact, it got to the point where it was really funny because we'd go past a set of stairs and Micah would just, he would pull towards those stairs. Not really pull, but he would stop and he would look. And then he'd look at me like, let's do them. Could we just do them? Could we just try them? He really became very interested and loved stairs.
Thank you so much, Beverly. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, do you see the video up here?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you do? Everybody does? Yes. Wonderful. All right. So real quick, I am going to run this twice. And I just want you, and just so you know, if you decide to send in a video for me, I will ask your permission before ever sending it, and I won't have others critique and so on. So don't be nervous about sending me a video. But anyways, I am going to run it twice, and I just want you to observe. There are many, before I started, I just want to let you know, this is future leader dog Lily. She's 9 weeks old in this video. And Bev let me know that she worked with her on leash this day. And she normally practiced before with this ladder on the flat. It's raised, you can see now that it's raised to the 4-inch height. And she will let her, independently play on it as well. So we will discuss this in a minute, but I just want you to watch. Look at those independent feet.
One thing that I've noticed with this puppy, she's very young, and as she walks upstairs now, she alternates her back feet.
All right. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this back small, maybe. All right, so before I run it again, I just, want to point out some things when you watch this next time. Well, actually, I'll point them out as we're watching. And if you had things that you noticed and want to put it in the chat box, that would be great. But I'm going to start with, first of all, right here, the environment is set up. We talk about that so often. She has the environment set up with a, rug underneath the ladder so the puppy's not going to slip. And she has low to no distractions. And she's also ready to go. Treat bag, video, everything is ready. The next really important thing, did you see that? She gets her attention before just moving into it. She calls her, she gets her attention. They're a team, they're working together. That creates a willingness and an interested partner. She also lets Lily work at her own pace and comfort level. That leash was completely loose. She's not forcing the puppy to do anything. She's only using the leash as a guide. And something about the leash, a couple things. It tells Lily that it's time to work. We're doing something important, right? Every time we put on their leash, we're doing something important. It's also teaching her loose leash walking skills and slowing her down in that ladder so she can slowly, it's a great tool to use to teach loose leash walking. It reminds me of, I don't know if anyone ever saw Modern Family, where the little one, also named Lily, went to Disneyland and was running around crazy and no one could contain her. And the grandpa went ahead and bought high-heeled princess shoes. And when he did that, she was thrilled and she couldn't really walk, or at least couldn't run around, and she had to go slow. In a way, this ladder is our high-heeled shoes, slowing our puppy down, allowing their brain to think about what they're doing. A great tool for loose leash. The other thing is Beverly's attitude and her body language. Very calm, very patient. I want to scroll back for 1 second. Is this video moving back and forth with me?
It sure is.
Awesome. So very calm, very patient. When she gets ready to start this next time, the second pass, watch the difference in Lily. Watch how more willing, more confident, more engaged she is. And she explores a little bit. Watch this. That was only with one pass through. And look at her. She's already like, man, it doesn't take much. Very well done, Beverly and Lily. And by the way, 9 weeks old, and that was her first time on the leash. Excellent job. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right, so I'm looking at the clock, and with our technical difficulties in the beginning, am I back to, oh no, sorry, let me get back to the slide real quick. Sorry about that. And current slide. It's on a different slide on my screen.
Yeah, we see ladder work.
Is the full presentation coming up? Oh, you do see ladder work? I think that was Mark. That's perfect if that's what you see. Is that correct?
Yes, we see ladder work.
Excellent. Okay, so did anyone else have a chance to work on the scattered sticks from last week or ladder work from the last session? And if so, if you had any struggles, difficulties, or successes that you wanted to share, please put it in the chat or unmute for a second and you could tell us about it. If there is someone, just let me know. It doesn't look like my screen's changing.
Mary Lynn, I did one with magic.
and I'll put it on the whatever it's called, the Facebook one for Leader Dog.
Okay. My
Sorry.
screen doesn't seem to be changing.
It's
Do you
still on
see-
the ladder work slide, Barry Lynn. It's
Yep,
not,
I think it's frozen there. I'm so sorry. Do you see anything now?
yep. We see like the presentation on your left and the ladder work.
Okay, let me see if it will do it now from current slide. Maybe I'm back. Now you have scattered sticks?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, I see someone asking in the chat about what else can we do with this ladder. There is a great deal. I have videos on that as well, and we can talk about that in the next session. But there's lateral work, there's backwards work, there's a lot of work we can do with a ladder. And as we move up, we will do that, different things. But I am just going to kind of wrap this up unless there's someone who has, stuck with something with the scattered sticks or the ladder work that they want to talk about right now. Otherwise, we will have time to do both. I've scheduled it in on our next session where you can work on the scattered sticks and the ladder work, and we'll take a little review time on the next session at the start of the session to work on those, especially if you could send me any problems or videos in advance. But if there's something we need to talk about right now, VJ, maybe is there something, a question right now in the chat?
No question, Barry Lynn, but Angie said something really cool. She tried scattered sticks last week with hockey sticks.
Excellent. Exactly. For those who missed it, you do not need fancy equipment. Hockey sticks is great. Broomsticks, shovel handles. I had hula hoops in the video that I used. They're very inexpensive at the dollar store. Use what you have laying around because it's just teaching the dog to step over things. So I'm going to move on for a second here. I just wanted to talk about our next session. Like I said, in the beginning, we're going to do a short review. We're going to review on the ladder work that you've done, from now or from the last session, to our next. We're also going to talk about the scattered sticks. If you have a video, even a before and after, like when you first started it and how they improved, I would love to have that. If you can make your videos short or send them to me in advance and I can edit those. And we'll just do a very short 5-minute review, as well as if you have questions or struggles. Then next session, we're going to continue with coordination. We're going to build on both the scattered sticks and the ladder work, as well as adding in different exercises that will help improve that skill and build on the skill of coordination. And as far as the overall canine conditioning and fitness, we're going to include balance, stamina, coordination, strength, many different exercises as we go. So I hope you stay with us. We're going to get a format down where, I'd like to start the sessions with question and answer on the previous, and then give you time before the next session to send me things that we can discuss and make this pretty much your class, especially with classes maybe being postponed due to COVID. I would like to do this one more in a class format if you're all up for that and would like to join me on that. So at this time, if there are any questions, or even if it was on the ladder or whatever, or anything we discussed today, or if you needed ideas on other kinds of equipment so you don't have to go buy things, just let me know and we'll constantly add those things to the sessions. But right now the floor is open for any questions. I'm going to stop sharing and try to come back to you. Any questions out there? Someone started to share about their scattered stick experience. Do you want to unmute and share that now?
No comments about that yet, Mary Lynn, but I'm curious to see if anyone's made a ladder.
I know. So if you recall, there is on that last session in the link, there is instructions, or I can send to you, to make a puppy ladder. They're fairly easy to make. There's also ways to do them without all of the connectors. I do see something here from Lori, though, that I want to talk about. She says it would be a big giant toy for her pup. I understand that perfectly. And with all of them, these are kind of considered tools and props. What is recommended is they're not down all the time as playthings. Now, Beverly mentioned that she has it down for Lily and Lily drags her toys through it and all that. That's perfectly fine, absolutely. But if they are using it for a toy, that's where we'd put it up. I put mine up because I want them, I put all of it pretty much up, my climbs, my fit bones and things like that. When I put them down, I want them to kind of have that mental focus that, oh, what are we going to do? And usually they come explore immediately. I also want it to be a very rewarding place. So I want to be able to treat them often while they're on their climb, their platform, and things like that. And by putting them, if I just left them down, they're going to use them all the time and they don't become as special. Now, with that being said, we also, recommend using a climb or a platform as a place for the pup to go, like when company comes to the door and things like that. So you are going to have it down at that time. But I was leaving mine down in front of the window and they just became a piece of furniture. And I noticed that when it was time to work, they were a little less enthusiastic about it. So anyway, any proper tool you're using, if they're using it as a toy or a chew toy, put it up. I would definitely recommend that. And that's what Beverly, she doesn't leave the ladder out to play. She does leave it up in between toy sections. And that gives her the opportunity to move through it, forward, backwards, all on her own. And again, she's not chewing on it. She's not using it as a toy. The litters of puppies I raised, I did the same exact thing, Beverly. I think it's great. They do it at their comfort level. And that's where when we go back about age appropriate and that, you see puppies running around all the time. That's what they do. They run, they jump on things, they do all of this, but we're not forcing them to do that. And that's the difference from an exercise. If we were being regimented and saying, okay, 15 reps and 5 times a day, why it could be extreme. Working a dog, on their own schedule and their own pace makes all the difference. They know when they're tired and things like that. So listening to them. Sue, let's see. We initially had problems with the, whoops, it bounces up sometimes. Sorry, where'd it go? On the straightness on the, with the straightness on the ladder, so moved it up against the wall. Okay, I'm not sure I exactly understand, but I'm taking it that maybe your pup was leaving the ladder, so you put it up against the wall so that you had a boundary. I'm not sure if I have that right. If that is so, that's great. Having a boundary on one side is great. Adding a leash to your puppy would also help guide them. And that's what Beverly, was showing us in her video. That was her first time doing it that way, where it was more of a session that, had a start and a finish to it. And she could slow her puppy down. We don't want them just running through it. We want them to take their time, focus in, and think about their leg movement. I love the hockey sticks. Let me see if I can scroll down, see if I'm missing anything. Linda, the ladder helped my puppy on the stairs, stopped him from hopping, and started using back legs independently. Can you unmute a minute there, Linda, and tell us a little bit about the training you did with the ladder, about how much? I have a feeling, I'm hoping it was, didn't take a whole lot for them to start figuring out, he had back legs. Are you still with us by chance?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Yeah, so this was like 17 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Puppy and German Shepherd, and he would just kind of like, bounce up the stairs like he wasn't he was hopping them.
Right.
And yeah, I think it was Bev, back in that day we had a 12-page manual and an 800 number, and said, try not to kill the puppy. But so I did. I think I called Bev, and she said, put a ladder down in your garage and make him walk through it. And we did that probably twice, and it changed. He never hopped again. So it was really a great tool.
Oh my gosh, listen to all these plugs for Bev. That is awesome. And the 17 years ago, fabulous, fabulous. Thank you for sharing that. She's definitely always been ahead of the times, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
All right, Shelley, after doing the ladder exercise in class, my pup ran through the ladder. An artist put on the ground at an art fair we attended the next day. Everyone there at the art fair was very surprised. That is awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, people will be like very surprised at the things your pup's able to do, because many of these things would scare the normal pup. And, I don't think I mentioned this, but when we talk about confidence, that's what we're talking about right there. And that confidence will carry over as they learn more difficult skills. A ladder isn't that difficult, but to start off it is, and without your support and your encouragement, it's very scary. But as they, grow and they move into, more difficult skills and guide dog training, this will lay the foundation. What you're doing right now is so important for their future. And thank you all so very much. Even the willingness to be here and learn about different conditioning skills says a lot. So I appreciate you all very much. Please email me if you want to share videos. I would love to see them. If you have this is how we started, couldn't do it, I had to lead him with a treat, and this is what he does now. Any of that would be awesome. I hope you join the next session. I want to start off with your stories and your time. So keep that in mind too, please.
Mary Lynn, did you see that you have a hand raised?
Oh, no, I don't. Oh, there we go. Now, I'm not sure how to clear it, or,
I can clear it for you.
Well, not Angie, if you want to unmute and share, I would love to hear what you have to say.
Hi, I just have a question about form. Like we were talking about how it's important to have good form during an exercise or during a training session.
Yes.
Is it more effective if you find your puppy doesn't have that correct form you're looking for? Is it more effective to take the dog out of the position and then try to put him back into the position? Or is it more effective to try to fix it physically? Like if his leg's a little bit crossed over, if he's out of position, is it easier or more effective to take him completely out of the position and try to put him back, or try to like physically fix it a little bit?
What an awesome question. Thank you so much for answering it. I hope a good number of people are still on. I would never recommend physically moving them. Meaning I wouldn't pick up the leg and put it where I want it to go necessarily. It depends on what exercise you're doing. But the reason for that is mostly by using your target, using your treat, guiding with your leash, and moving them into position where they're making those decisions and moving into position, it's going to mentally take part. They're going to grasp it more mentally, remembering it, and so on. For example, we go back to how we teach sit. We'll encourage you to take your treat, take your bowl, hold it up. Their head goes up, their fanny goes down, versus pushing them down. And when I say pushing them down, I know no one's going to, force them down. However, when you hold it up and they decide, or in that case, it's kind of, the teeter-totter effect, but their butt goes down and you reward, they're going to remember that, and they're mentally learning that and holding on to a skill that they can use in the future. Versus, let's say they're doing the ladder, but they're a little nervous and they're keeping their one back leg out because maybe they're a little nervous. Instead of moving that back leg in, because our goal is not to get them in that ladder. Our goal is to have them comfortably walk through. So what I would do is back it up, start over. If you look at the video that I did in the last session with the ladder, I showed with Swag different things like that. If he would have been nervous, I would have just started with one rung and a treat. Maybe I would have put the treat, like Beverly did the toys, in that rung and had him go in and then go back out. When you go back out, that takes pressure away, and then start again. Maybe I'll get 2 rungs the next time. Maybe I'm just going to do 1 and save it for a whole, just end it. And on the next session, we work a little further. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, I had raised dogs for another organization previously. And so like they were big on helping the dog succeed. So like if it was a little puppy and we were trying to teach them to sit and they didn't quite get the treat like above their head, you take like 2 fingers and kind of touch their rump to try and see if that would encourage them to sit. So that's the kind of thing, obviously not like forcing anything.
Right. I
just trying to like help the puppy out or help them succeed or stuff like that. But it sounds more like it's a little more effective to kind of stop and then regroup.
Right. Or maybe you need to change your body language. So yes, help them to succeed by all means. Either we have to lessen the criteria, or maybe you change our body language. Let's go back to that dog with the form where his head was up. So that was our body language, the human's body language, or the target that was causing them to look up. So in the case of a puppy in the sit, maybe there's things we could do a little differently, like put it right on their nose. Maybe we were holding it to this or that, put it right on their nose and tip up, and just wait a little bit, let them think a little bit. So that's a great question. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I as much as we can, if we can encourage them to do these things by being patient and waiting it out, but lowering our criteria to help them be successful.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Barry-Lynn.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, thank you again, everybody. I can't wait till the next session, and I look forward to seeing and hearing from all of you. Thank you.